episode 213. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Hey, Dave, we were just talking. We're very, very sleepy boys, but we have a duty to do, and it's time to do that. But this time, hey, you know what? I don't feel like it's all like... actually, I say it's all doom and gloom news stories, but the last two stories are kind of bad. But for the most part, there's actually good news to report this week. So we got that going for us.
I've had a long week playing with Derby for Owen and Scouts. So Angela and I have been working on that and just work. So just work and stuff and dad stuff and adulting. Too much adulting. Not enough video games. Not really anything out either.
No. I gotta ask about the Pine War Derby.
Yeah.
How hands-on do you have to be for that? Because you know how it's supposed to be, like you're supervising to make sure Owen doesn't cut a finger off.
I'll try to post a picture of it in Facebook and on Twitter. He's not allowed as a Cub Scout. He's 8, so he's not allowed to operate power tools technically. Like, I mean, I guess what I do with him in my own house is my own thing. But I did buy like a band saw from my work, and we cut it out. So he wanted his car to look like a switch. So we kind of made it like if a Pinewood Derby car is a block, and then we kind of rounded off the edges and did it flat. Painted the left side red, painted the right side blue, and painted the middle black. He picked the picture out. Angela did 95% of the work, so just he kind of messes with the design, and then he gets to play with it a little bit. He's in that age now where he can start helping a little bit, but when he's really young, like when he's like 5 and 6, and he's like 8 now, but when you're 6 and 7 years old, like there's not really much that you can do. And ultimately, like he won first place in his like grade group, and he won second place overall out of like 10 people. There's not a whole lot of people in our pack in the Cub Scout group that we're in. But he was like so disappointed that he was second place. He's like, I can never get first. It's like,
were there any designs that you're just like, there's no way the kid thought of that?
I mean, there's always like we try to have some fun. It's like we didn't give out an award this year, but sometimes we will give out award for like most Scout made car, most parent assisted car. So we do have some fun, but it's also ultimately it's always cool for, you can call them parents, you can call them guardians, whatever you want to call them, but for them to spend time with their kids, like that's always
that's the point. But it's just every once in a while you see like the parent that just went a little too extra, where it's like, come on.
Not as bad now, but like so like everybody knows I have another older son. He's 24. It's been 15 years since he was doing the Cub Scout stuff. I saw some stuff. I've done a lot of volunteering for Cub Scout stuff over the years, and I've seen some stuff in Pinewood Derby with people putting like liquid metal in their car as a weight. And like there's like metal, like liquid metal, or trying to put full axles in there. And stuff like that. So like there's so many little intricate rules and weight and the way that people try to maneuver it, and I'm like, your kid is in second grade and you're trying to sit here and like put like illegal wheels on a car.
That's what I was expecting. The one that like 99% of the parents just look at each other and they're just like, this is not the kid's idea.
But that is some of
shop talk.
What's been going on early on. So so we are obviously Digital Days Gaming. We are a video game podcast, not a Pinewood Derby podcast. We post typically every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time. And then we also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgame, and twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming. And you can also watch us on YouTube if you don't like Twitch, youtube.com/digitaldaysgaming. You can subscribe on YouTube for free. You can follow on Twitch for free. You can subscribe on Twitch if you want as a Twitch affiliate. You can support our Patreon. You can do PayPal or whatever that kind of stuff you want. You can go to digitaldaysgaming.com and you get all the episodes. You can just subscribe on whatever podcast feed you use. So we're kind of like, if there's a platform that you use to consume podcast media and video or audio only, and we're not on it, I don't know what you use.
Pandora, I think, is the only one we're not on, and it was just because the account creation was just too annoying for me. But everything else we're on there.
That's crazy. So, and we're gonna kick it off into some news right away.
The first bit of news is Summer Game Fest has its dates. Summer Game Fest will be June 7th for an in-person event. This would be, their big showcase. It looks like it's going to be roughly 2 hours, and it's going to be at the YouTube Theater in front of a live audience, and signups for tickets have begun now, or at least you can sign up for when the tickets go on sale. For that, there will be a media event held from June 8th to 10th, which I heard mixed things. I know some people that went there and it was very small. It was just cool to have one of those events again. So wondering to see how much it's going to scale now that E3 is officially kind of done and gone. This did get Jeff Keighley to finally acknowledge that the video game industry is not in a good spot right now and talk about layoffs, which is something people have been asking Keighley to talk about for, I don't know, about a year. So Keighley not doing the best in terms of spacing, this announcement and then being like, hey, also, I realize people have been laid off. But yeah, this is still a good thing to have this sort of event. There's some big companies that did do Keighley's Summer Game Fest last year. I think like Capcom did it, Square Enix did it, some other major studios were there as well. So we'll see if it continues to grow since there's no promise of E3, because one thing that kind of held Summer Game Fest back is because a lot of these companies were like pre-signed up for E3, like a partnership, and whether E3 was there or not, they were already like under contract with E3. So we might see a big expansion for Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously staying out of the LA Convention Center, I still think, depending on like, I don't think Sony needs to be there. I don't think Microsoft needs to be there. I don't think Ubisoft, any of these EA, like they can do their own things. I think it's great for what we would call like AA studios to kind of like show their game and show off what's going on. I think it would be a cool platform if you want to launch like a free to play game. But ultimately I think that it's just different now. Like, I still don't see, even outside of the convention center, like we used to see a bunch of stuff. I can't. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but we would go into the hotels that outside of the convention center.
Activision would be in the Figueroa, usually in the Marriott, and then EA would be like several blocks away.
Ubisoft too. Ubisoft would have a representation on the show floor at E3, but they would also do stuff like the Sunday and Monday prior. Like
I remember going to that weird shantytown area where Ubisoft was.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff we got to see and play was before the press conference the next day.
Yeah.
So that was always kind of cool. Although it did take away, personally, like, oh, look at a Dave problem. It took away from the excitement of what was going to be announced at the press conference because you see it on Sunday, so you don't get to experience it. Like
the thing that would always kind of bother me, which again, this is like first world problems of going to like an Ubisoft event or an EA event before E3. You see the thing you're going to play, and then you kind of ask the PR person of like, so what are we doing tomorrow? And they're like the same thing, and it's just like, okay. But luckily, you sometimes you'll be able to squeeze in like a dev interview or something in between, for that time. But it was just kind of funny sometimes. Like that, I feel like you played Skull and Bones like 2 or 3 times within a weekend because he just kept running into that demo throughout the course of the weekend.
So it's like a first world problem. I mean, like I knew. I didn't know like the main, like the one I always like hook back to is like I knew about a lot of stuff in Destiny 2 Forsaken when it came out. I didn't know like the story beats of it, but I knew all the other things that they were speaking so vaguely, but because it was announced at a PlayStation press conference, because that was back when they were still affiliated with Activision PlayStation had the deal. So that kind of is like, I can have conversations with like you guys, like when we would, in the old days when we would like be walking to like lunch or walking, or at a hotel or eating dinner or something like that. And, but for the most part, you're just like, but the people that I would be genuinely excited for to want to have this conversation with, would have to wait like 24 or 48 hours to even text with somebody or something like that. Or so it's like, it's always just like super interesting of how that functions. And I don't think that this quote unquote judges week, circling back to the Keighley thing, this June 8th to the 10th is ever going to replace that.
No, I mean, it's a start if that's where they eventually want to take it. Because there's still the opportunity that, like, I think the reports are saying that Dragon Age will release this year, like actually legitimately release this year. And I don't see EA really holding their own event anymore. And this could be a spot to put it, either this or Gamescom.
But see, I disagree, though. I think EA is going to have a Dragon's Breath live stream on a Tuesday afternoon with a countdown and everything like that, and it could be the middle of June, it could be May, it could be July, and they're going to hold court, and they're going to have like
I can see for specifically like when it comes to like Dragon Age, I could see them doing a thing where they have the first trailer at Keighley's event, and at the end of the trailer it's like full reveal thing at later date in the summer, just because EA's in a spot where they kind of need as many eyes as they possibly can get on their thing. Especially like there's a lot riding for BioWare on this, so I think they would just go where the people are, at least for the initial trailer, before they do a blowout event, because BioWare is at the spot now where they can't really afford to just cater to the BioWare fans. They need to get, people beyond that. And then of course, you'll have your Segas, you'll have Square Enix there. Capcom seems pretty down for all these events. To your point, PlayStation pretty much, said earlier this year they don't have any first-party things coming out, so we're not going to see anything from PlayStation. Xbox has a reason to be there, just because if PlayStation's not there, Xbox is like incentivized to like we need to be there. But I don't think Keighley's going to win over Nintendo anytime soon.
Right. So
like that, if he lucks out, Nintendo will do something that week, but it will be adjacent and completely separate from Summer Game Fest. But yeah, Summer Game Fest is coming in June. Part of me is just like, maybe we should play as media, but I don't know if I want to go. I kind of got lazy when it came to events. The next story is Multiverses is returning in May, and it's going to be on the Unreal Engine 5. Dave, remember we were kind of joking at like there's a chance this game won't be coming back out when it was in secret beta. Or like it was in a beta, just no one knew it was a beta, and then they were like, "Oh, actually, this has been a beta the whole time."
I thought they shut it down.
They did. Remember? So they released the game. Everyone was playing it for a couple months, and then they're like, "Hey, this has actually been a beta. We're shutting the servers down and going back into development. Thank you for playing the beta." And then it's been like a year of just kind of silence. Well, they're back out of their shell. And May 28th, the game will come out with additional characters and a new PvE mode. It is now running in Unreal Engine 5. And they also have a deal with McDonald's for Happy Meals. So it looks like Warner Brothers is going full on into this. If you remember, Dave, when it first came out, it was really popular for like a good month. And then their season pass stuff was really bad or poorly received, and then they just didn't have a good cadence for when they released characters, and the bottom dropped out of Multiverses pretty fast, which is why when they said randomly like actually this has been a beta the whole time, it almost felt like them kind of trying to scramble to save their game, but apparently they feel like they have saved it, and it's going to be in Unreal Engine 5 for whatever that means, because this art style doesn't really scream
right
we needed Unreal Engine 5.
I mean, it's interesting to have a non-PvP mode, to and PvE is always a little bit of an appeal, because I think a lot of times people just don't like have a good time. If you start getting into like deep into the weeds of like skill-based matchmaking and all this other stuff, and like that's somehow like people sometimes just want to kick back and relax and just play a game, and if it's not fun, if you're getting like pub stomped or whatever,
Smash Brothers has always been ruined by that one try hard, So like these fighting games definitely have those instances where you get that one person that really takes it serious, and it can ruin the fun for everyone. So yeah, I think you're right. A PvE mode could do wonders for this game. And with Smash Brothers officially over, they have like a 2-year window before the next Smash Brothers like comes out for the Switch 2 or whatever. So they have a window that you can do something. And hey, this could be the live service game that Warner Brothers wants to take off, and they're competing against Suicide Squad in terms of Warner Brothers live service game, so it's probably already more successful just off the Happy Meals. The next story here is Stig Asmussen formed a new studio. So the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor director has formed a new studio for AAA games. They will be joined by some Respawn coworkers, as well as some folks from Riot Games that worked on Valorant, and some Epic Games people that worked on Fortnite. As everyone knows, Stig's previous games prior to Respawn and the Jedi games was God of War 3. So it makes sense with the cachet that a new studio has been formed and some heavy talent has come along. And they're making their claim that they're making AAA video games. Dave, the fact that he's already picked like some Valorant people and some Fortnite people makes me think that there might be a AAA live service game possibility.
So
for this,
the only problem that I have with this And like I get it, like more power to you. You're gonna make your studio, you want to make your own thing and do your own thing and do something different that you've been doing, sure. And going to get more people outside of that do this stuff like Valorant and Fortnite. Like great idea, great. It's what I've been asking from Naughty Dog and some of these other companies to do. But at the same time, like his forte, like what his claim to fame is third person action adventure hack and slash.
They did say they're going to be focused on AAA single player games.
But why is he getting those people then?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, and it says focused. It makes me think like it could have like some trappings of some like games as a service things. But yeah, the idea that it's a AAA single player focused thing, but also getting Valorant people and Fortnite people is just like, where's the hook? Like, why would you get those people unless there was that hook, like you said? Right. But are you interested? Like, I know you haven't finished the Star Wars games, right?
Yeah, I got really far in the first one. I haven't even started the second one. I think I own them through Jonathan getting them or something like that. I really did enjoy the first one. I think I need to go back and play it. I can play it through Game Pass or EA Play or something like that. I don't know if I necessarily want to start over, but I think it's only a 15 or 20 hour game anyways if you don't do a bunch of crazy stuff. I really did enjoy that kind of that little rogue or Dark Souls like stuff where you kind of have checkpoints and meditation points and you can go back and get stuff. I don't know if the sequel has, I would assume it has a similar system to it. I really did enjoy God of War 3. So like all of those things are definitely something that's of interest to me. I guess I would need to see like what the type of gameplay or environment or whatever this is going to be, because I'll be honest, like Valorant is a mouse and keyboard only game, and Fortnite is a third person battle royale, and like so I'd be really curious to what this mix is going to be, to make this a quote unquote single player focus. So like there's a lot of things that are being mixed together, and I don't necessarily know how this is going to taste.
Yeah, you wonder like what exactly they're creating. They have just his name alone, as well as some of the other people in the company. Their cachet means that they will probably be able to find like a publisher, relatively quickly, because people are still throwing money, in the video games industry, especially when you have names attached to it. And with all the layoffs, we're going to see a ton of studios like this being created, and most likely just acquired or partnership signed. Relatively quickly. The cachet, like the brand name he has, makes me interested to see what's going to happen with the studio. Though we'll talk about a studio in like 2 stories that like had some heavy backing behind it and it didn't work out. So we'll have to see what exactly this happens. They did brag though about like the studio's based in LA, but it does have an emphasis on remote workers from around the world. So that's a way to like kind of separate itself from some of the other studios that have been kind of, saying like, hey, everyone needs to be in the office. So that could bring in some extra talent at potentially like a deal, because you'll potentially have talent that I'll take a lesser pay if I could be remote, as opposed to having to like move my life around for another thing. Because you have a lot of like companies like Activision Blizzard and stuff like that have been kind of forcing people to come back to the office, and people leaving because of that. So I think that's going to be a thing we notice with a lot of these like smaller studios, or these studios trying to do AAA games, is you're going to see a lot of them kind of tout like, hey, we will do remote work. Because that just opens up the talent pool like significantly.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're smaller, you're less worried about leaks at that point, because that's just free marketing. Yeah, most likely. And if it's a new IP, it's not like devastating if like story stuff leaks from it potentially, as opposed to like what happened to Insomniac that we'll talk about a little bit later. The next news story, I feel like I just put this in here because I thought Dave would laugh and like it. So Sea of Thieves has topped PlayStation's 5 digital pre-order charts. It actually in the US and UK has up to 3 spots in the top 10 for like the premium, deluxe, and single player or standard edition. In the UK, like it's basically number 1 is the premium edition, number 2 is the deluxe edition, and then number 10 is a standard edition. And it's in the US, it's similar. I think it's only 2 of the versions are on the charts, and it's like the standard and the deluxe edition. But it looks like it is bringing a lot of hype and taking the pre-order charts over on the PlayStation Store for this. I also think it's partially due because like there's not a ton of games coming out right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
What is on PlayStation to pre-order?
So right now, in the US, it's beating MLB The Show 24, which usually is pretty close to the top because we're really close to its release in baseball season.
But I think Switch and Game Pass are hurting pre-orders.
Potentially, yeah. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, Dragon's Dogma 2, which you'd think Dragon's Dogma 2 again close to release. The Elden Ring Shadow DLC is being kind of it's up there just as it's like an own standalone looking thing, and then Rise of Ronin. So it's not like it's beating like heavy hitters, but
right?
If you're Microsoft, you're probably pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is
for an old game,
right? This is proving there's a market and a desire, like Spencer said. And I also genuinely think that so well, you just use me as an example. I have PC, I have Xbox, I have PlayStation. Let's just say hypothetically that Michael only has PlayStation. Him and I are talking, or we're hanging out and whatever, playing Call of Duty or whatever. Hey man, like Sea of Thieves, like me and my buddies have a great time with Sea of Thieves. It's coming to PlayStation. Check it out. Come play with us. Like that's a conversation that's happening with this cross-play and cross-save market. So it's fascinating. We know there's a ton of consoles. We know there's a shit ton of PS5s out there, significantly more than Xboxes and not more than PCs, but we don't really know exactly what PCs people do or don't have. But there is a huge audience for Sea of Thieves. I'd have to look at the Steam charts to see what it's been trending at, and I'll be very curious to what its trends at when this comes out on PlayStation. When all of a sudden a Steam player's friends, now 2 or 3 other friends have access to it, and they're teaching them and they're trying to onboard them and trying to help them, and show them the games. Maybe something that they've been dabbling in. I saw a headline that would tie into it, similarly tie into this as well. Helldivers does, multiplayer games are fun, but multiplayer games are more fun when you feel like you need to and you want to play with friends. Mm-hmm. And that's what Helldivers is accomplishing. Helldivers 2, is accomplishing. Sea of Thieves, from what I understand, sucks to play solo and is a lot of fun to play with friends. So the more that you can do, I think we're going to see similar circumstances to Grounded. Just because it'll be something else. That survival genre game of, is a big genre for players, a specific player. And now, again, if they only owned a PlayStation, this is, a great opportunity to play potentially what a lot of people think is a really good game. But in the long run, this does also, like the other side of the coin, this does affect, console sales for Xbox, which they don't care. So...
Well, it's just basically Microsoft hit the conclusion that PlayStation just hit recently of just like, hey, software or hardware sales peaked. Yeah, it's not going to get any better than it was, previously. And Xbox kind of was just like they never got to hit a peak. Yeah, but they're like, okay, we're at the point where
they got everything they could get out of Sea of Thieves on Game Pass or Xbox. They're done.
Yeah,
they know where they are.
Yeah,
there's if people are going to roll their eyes and laugh at when I say this. 2 people buying this game is 2 more than you had.
Yeah, especially now we're at the point where the systems are so similar. So it's not like porting is like the biggest fucking drain on resources because they are similar hardware, or at least close enough to each other. But yeah, no, it's 2 more sales than they would have had, and it's also 2 more sales that maybe they'll buy some extra content on top of buying the game, because this is still like a games as a service
in the long run too. Like Spencer's not wrong. Okay, so now this introduces you to the type of games that Xbox Studios Corporation, whatever you want to call them, could potentially make that maybe interest you. What else is on the platform to get you to maybe start looking at it? I tell the people the story all the time. I never knew what the PS3 digital store was until the PSN crashed. Like I knew I was online. I knew I had a screen name. I knew I had friends, but I was just going to GameStop and buying discs and trading stuff and buying another disc.
When I worked at Target, like, and the PS4 was out, there were still people I was explaining what the PlayStation Store was and like what the PS Plus was and all that sort of thing. So yeah,
and that when they gave me, I don't remember which Uncharted it was. Like they gave me an Uncharted game for free.
It was
because
Infamous.
It was
for sure.
Yeah,
Infamous,
and I think Uncharted was in there too, or Uncharted came to Plus or something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Something happened, and I started playing and I enjoyed it. I do like and then I was like I had to go to the store though. I was following stuff. I was kind of learning some ins and outs. I got the PS3 because of the Blu-ray player and I was playing NCAA a lot with some people, so I knew to get online and see who was online playing NCAA and then play a game against them or randomly play against somebody. And then all of a sudden I knew that I couldn't connect to the network. I couldn't play NCAA. And so then I started digging for stuff, and I found like podcasts and like much longer, broader story in there. And that's when they're like, hey, you know, like, and you're reading, and like that was the number one. I don't even remember how long it was. It was like what 9 weeks or something like that. It was broken, something.
It was like two months.
Yeah.
2 months,
so and then when it came back, Sony's like, hey, we're sorry. Here's this. This is all free for you. I'm like, whoa. What do you mean free? And so then I kind of, I'm like, oh, there's a whole store here. So it's a similar concept of like, okay, here's an Xbox game. Okay, sure, it's on PlayStation, but okay, here's another Xbox game. Oh, wow, I really enjoy these two games. Like, what else is there? And then again, roll your eyes in the back of your head or whatever. You start digging into it. They start Googling stuff and start looking for stuff, and they're like, oh, wow, like Game Pass, interesting. Like that's all they want.
Yeah, you know what's gonna be like? This is gonna sound silly to some people. They're gonna load up Sea of Thieves because they've seen the TikToks. It's still one of those games that will like you'll randomly come across the video in TikToks, YouTube Shorts because it's just like it's a very clippable game. Like there's
from the maker of Battletoads.
No, that's what I'm saying. So the big thing that's gonna be is people are gonna load it up for the first time and they're gonna see the Rare logo and they're gonna be like, Rare still exists?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna get memories of GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong, and they're gonna be like, what the fuck? And then they're gonna go look and then they might find the Rare collection on Xbox or the Rare collection on PC and be like, oh shit, I didn't know this existed. And you'll get those people just off nostalgia because they forgot Rare existed anymore. Because there was a lot of people that like forget Rare exists.
And it might be to the fault of Xbox, you know, like to the fault of Xbox for not letting them do stuff, like 100%. Like they, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't say they ruined Rare, but they changed Rare's direction. They changed their direction.
They were making Avatar shit on the 360 for like years.
So I mean, it's definitely like it's interesting, but this is like this is a business, and they're trying to figure out, you know, like it's even worth the 70-30 split, whatever you want to call it. Like it's still worth if Sea of Thieves costs $100 and they have to give Sony $70 for it to be on the platform, and they take $30, that's 30 more bucks than they had. Like and they're all about growth and revenue, and this is how you grow, and it's proving their point.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that like Steam's peak players for Sea of Thieves in the last month, they hit 23,000 on Steam, which doesn't seem like a gigantic number, but that's the Steam bucket. That's not the Game Pass bucket on PC or the Xbox bucket as well. So the fact that it's still pulling in 23,000 from Steam is a pretty healthy number considering the game's been out for like 4 or 5 years already. So like that's decent numbers for it to pull in off one platform. So you imagine it's going to just kind of spike, because once people start seeing, because what you're going to see with Sea of Thieves is all the PlayStation streamers will probably start playing that game, and then they'll start clipping it, and then that's going to get PC players to return to the game. Maybe an Xbox player like myself will dust off their Series X and hop back on Sea of Thieves because you see it trending and you see people playing again. So this is just overall, it's good for Sea of Thieves. I mean, hell, it's good for Rare, Yeah,
I'm trying to. So on, take it for whatever you think it's worth. Okay, so like the most popular games on Game Pass: Minecraft, Dead Island 2, Madden 24. Not a big deal and not a shock there because Madden 24 just came. Forza Horizon, Pal World still there, Halo Infinite still there in the campaign form. In the Xbox One version of NFL 24, Madden NFL 24, Gang Beats is still hanging around. UFC 4, Halo Master Chief, Bluey, Maneater, Farming Simulator, Dead by Daylight, Warhammer, Skate 3, Among Us, Hell Let Loose, Forza Horizon 4, and Sea of Thieves. So like
25, top 25.
Yeah, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like top 15. So
yeah, you would imagine there's probably, I would probably say the Steam numbers are probably similar on the the Xbox for Sea of Thieves, if not a little bit more. So there's a chance there's maybe like 50,000 peak players, or something like that. So then you add the PlayStation people on there, like there's a big chance that Sea of Thieves can end up being even more successful. And the idea that like Sea of Thieves could get like, what is this, like a third wind at this point for this game? Like it's just really good for
it came out before
and,
Game Pass existed, and then it came to Game Pass, and then now it's coming to PlayStation.
Yeah, so like the idea that this game's gonna have like a third go at popularity is pretty cool for it. What's not cool, I want to talk about the dark business side of gaming. The PlayStation-backed studio Deviation Games has closed. So, the studio's been around for 4 years. Deviation Games was working on a PlayStation exclusive game that was an original IP. When a studio announced their partnership with PlayStation a couple years ago, it said the deal would keep the studio alive for several years. I messed up the quote I put in our thing, but basically the partnership with PlayStation was supposed to keep this studio afloat, and they were working on some sort of project which would have been their debut. And 4 years after the studio was announced, it has officially closed. Sounds like it had over 100 employees, and they were actively hiring last year for the studio. But obviously, they were hit by the like PlayStation, not layoffs because they weren't like owned by PlayStation, but the budget cuts definitely affected them.
The reorganization of Sony.
Yes, the reorganization of Sony, because they couldn't directly lay anyone off from the studio, but they could cut off the funding, which ultimately led to the studio's downfall, which is a damn shame. But yeah, the studio it's been around for 4 years and hadn't produced.
4 years is too long to not even have a teaser trailer. I'm sorry. Like, I know the game development takes a long time, but 4 years is too long for an independent studio not to have some kind of teaser, which means that you're trying to bite off more than you can chew. And then you also got Sony's money, and now you have nothing to show for it. But we're also seeing just games as a like this the Baker's Dozen or whatever, 12 or 13 of these games as a service game that Ryan was pushing. Like, it's got to be down to like 7, 5.
Oh yeah, definitely at least half. Yeah, like
we're seeing Concord and the Fair Games and Marathon. Well, I don't even know if they're counting when they were talking about Marathon.
They were trying not to put it in that space.
They're gonna have to now though.
Yeah,
but I mean, Marathon's an extraction shooter, but some of these others, everybody's like, oh, they got the thing that Deviation's working on. They got the thing that, and now these things are just falling off left and right. Like, and that's
Twisted
fine.
Metal's canceled. This is gone.
It's fine. Like, it sucks that anybody loses their job or any studio that's closed. But at the same time, we talked about 10 games in a 2 or 3 year window. I have a hard enough time keeping up with 2 service games. Like, let alone you're going to release 6. Like,
this definitely feels like Ryan didn't know what he was doing by greenlighting all of these games that were all going to be competing against each other. And now the current head of PlayStation is just like, why would we release 12 games within a 2-year span that are all in the same market? Like, we need to just cut it now to avoid having to have bad sales later. Because again, like, all of these games were going to be competing against each other, because we talk about this and we stress this out enough. There's only so many live service games like an individual could be spread across. And the idea that PlayStation was like, yeah, we're going to have 12 within like a 3-year span is just insane.
Right. And that realistically, like, if it's, like, how many PlayStations are there? How many PCs are there? Okay. What, like, they look at Helldivers, and Helldivers is doing super successful. And is it going to be as good as Helldivers? And then what's a good attach rate? Like, what's a good console attach rate? If there's 50 million PlayStation 5s, like, if you're talking about if you get a 10% attach rate, which is ridiculous, like stupid high, that's 5 million players. Like, that's absurd. And
that's Nintendo shit,
right? And and then do you hold them? And how long do you hold them for? Like, it's like, circling back, and only because I keep hearing the data, and I understand it's a free to play game also, but like, at one point, Destiny 2 has had 66 million people make a character. Like, and I know that's a naive number because they've given it away on Plus at different times. It's a free to play.
And making a character.
And then making a character and never do anything with it. Yeah,
yeah.
Like, I mean, not
your
like,
alts.
Yeah, well, no, alts aren't. No, they're 66.
No, but like if you had like a burner alt account or something.
Bungie, and Bungie.net has 66 million unique users.
Yeah.
Now, are they active users? No. So, but like you start circling back to it, and you circle all the way back to the success of Fortnite. It's on Android, it's on iPhone, it's on Switch, it's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox. Like, you can play Fortnite anywhere. So like, and like, are you going to be able to play Concord anywhere? No. The answer is you're going to be able to play Concord on PC and console, on PC and PlayStation. And there's, to your point, there's only a big enough quadrant for you to hold that quadrant.
Like Helldivers is a great game. It's successful. Do you think Helldivers would be as successful if Factions came out around the same time?
Right.
And if Fair Games came out around the same time, or like 6 months down the road? Like, no, because realistically, there's only so much people playing in the market, especially when it comes to like
the player base already gets exhausted in November. Like, oh wait, we have an Assassin's Creed, we have Call of Duty, we have
the idea that a game releasing in December is like a waste of time because November was so busy.
Right.
That's just how things function.
Yeah.
And video games are so much so, especially live service games. Like, you have people that will be excited about like a single player game, and then they're like, oh, I can't play it the first month it's out, so I'm just never going to play it.
Right.
And it's a single player game.
Yeah.
When it comes to a live service game, like, I'm never jumping into Helldivers at this point because I'm just like, well, shit, like, it's a live service game and I'm a month and a half behind already.
Right.
So the idea that like PlayStation was going to potentially be releasing all of these games that are going to be in the same market, it's not surprising that these things are happening. But I would imagine this is one of those things where if they could have a time machine and redo this, they would probably still greenlight these games, but they wouldn't fucking announce that they're having 12 of them, or they would announce partnerships with studios without a product being visible to the public, because then it just makes them look like a mess of a company because you're having to cancel all of these games. As opposed to the thing that I keep talking about with Square Enix, that Square Enix was getting slack for, where Square Enix is like, yeah, we're just going to kind of cancel games before we announce them.
Right.
Because it's a way better look, like PR-wise, to just cancel something that no one knows about, as opposed to announcing it in a partnership or a game title or a trailer and then having to find out like 2 months later, like, oh shit, we got to cancel this. Like, right now, PlayStation's at the spot where they're like, we got to kill these games and these partnerships, and it sucks because people do get laid off. A lot of hard work does get thrown away, but the dirty business side of it is they have to look at the bottom line, and they're just like, we have to cut all this stuff that doesn't make sense, and we got to take the bad PR that comes with it. Because Jim Ryan was like, let's release 12 of these fucking things in like a 3-year span. And you can't over delay it because that's also like a PR nightmare. And then what's in life, it's what we saw with Suicide Squad.
Yep.
Where it's been a live service game that's been developed since for like what feels like 10 years. And it's like, were there things in Suicide Squad that felt like they might have been like 5 to 10 years old?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And you know why it was? Because it's been in development that long.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you can't fix things. You can take things out, but then it leaves gaps and holes. So Jim Ryan kind of put them in a spot where it's like, okay, we have 3 years to either release all of these or not release all of these, because if we drag anything beyond that 3-year point, it's going to be outdated and going to be even more of a money pit. So we're getting situations like this, and we'll talk about the next one, Dave, if you want to just jump into it. But the Insomniac's canceled Spider-Man multiplayer game. Multiple trailers have now leaked. It sounds like there's been 2 trailers that have leaked now. And this basically just shows that this is basically it was like New York, and you had multiple Spider-Man. You had, Miles, Peter, you had Spider-Gwen, you had Ben Reilly, and then it looked like Miguel O'Hara. I'm flexing on Dave now, just useless Spider-Man knowledge. And it looked like you played up to I think it was 6 different Spider people in the world at one time, and it looked like you were basically just doing quests and fighting big bosses and stuff. And the trailer looked pretty finished, or the game looked like pretty close to at least like you could imagine what the game looked like. Like it looked like there was actual gameplay in this trailer. How far it was actually along in development is unknown. But this was one of the games that was canceled, recently. And this, it looked actually really good, to be honest. But
I thought it looked clunky, but obviously I know it's early development, and you and I are better at looking at something, and we've played builds similar to this, to what they've shown.
Yes.
Like you and I have seen stuff, again, first world problems. Like we've done some stuff where the devs like, hey, before you play, just know this is like 55% done. like don't kill me for don't kill us for this and this.
It had some rough edges on it, but like the core there looked interesting. But I'll let you talk before I tell you my thoughts on the trailer, because I also don't think it looked fully there yet.
Yeah, I just think it's one of these things where this was supposed to be being made by Insomniac, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's one of these things where Sony's like, okay, we want blah 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 blah, and then I finally think Insomniac's like, wait a second, like we can't, like we can't, not without more people and more money, like we can't support New Game Plus for Spider-Man, which just came out, for Spider-Man 2, I'm sorry, and we can't get we can't hit this timetable with Wolverine, and we can't hit this timetable with this next game and this next game if you want us to have a service game. It's the same. It's to me, it's very similar path to what Naughty Dog was going on. Naughty Dog's like, yeah, we want to do this. Fuck. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you got to do that. Oh, we got to do that. Oh, we got to do that. No, I'm out.
No, so it's funny. We have the same thoughts, but it diverges into like. So I feel like just like with Naughty Dog, they're like, okay, fuck, we can do it. We can do that.
Yeah.
And then PlayStation is like, okay, what's the tail on this? What's the roadmap look? And Naughty Dog was like, the what now?
Yeah, when it's ready, when we're done.
Yeah, and not just that, of just like, what are the hooks that are going to get people to come back for years on end? And Insomniac or Naughty Dog is just like quality gameplay.
Yeah,
and
or somebody comes to them, like whether it's Bungie or somebody from Activision or Diablo guy, or they bring somebody on and they go, hey, what does your UI screen look like? What does your loot drop screen look like? What's your battle pass? What are you talking about? We don't need that. No, you do.
Yeah.
Like, why am I going to run this same mission 6 times? What do you mean? Because it's fun. No, but like, why? Like,
how are we going to continue to make money off this? And I feel
not even how you're going to, like, yes, making money is important.
That's number one.
How are you going to keep the player engaged to then want to spend the money? Yes.
Money. Yeah.
So the engagement part is the first thing there. Like, you have to be able to get somebody, like, like it's in the hooks. It's, but Destiny put something out, little stupid stuff. Like, they put hoverboards in the game. Like, that,
Yeah, but that's all, like, I would say those are hand in hand.
Right.
Situations.
Yeah, but like there has to be a reason for like for the repeatable content. Suicide Squad is struggling with this as well. Like, why am I going to go do this open world event? Oh, like again, I know everybody hates it, but at least in Destiny, like, okay, I can complete a bounty, which gives me XP, which increases my season pass. Like, those are all avenues that people have to experience. Now, yes, Spider-Man as a core has an XP system in it, and the XP system unlocks more stuff, but eventually you're done.
No, and I think that's what ultimately happened to this project.
Yeah.
Of where I saw this, and I'm like, this looks like this would be fun as hell for a couple months.
Right.
And then you quietly put it away. And I think Insomniac, from the trailer, that was their mindset as well.
But then somebody comes to them and says, okay, you earn this at level 80. How do you make a better version of that at level 200? Well, they're like, what do you mean a better version? This is the coolest version we can make.
No. And not even this is the coolest version it was like. It's just like, there won't be a level 200 because then we're making Spider-Man 3. Yeah. Like, they just drop it and move on to the next thing. Yeah. And I think Insomniac could have made a really awesome co-op game, co-op experience.
I agree.
But it wouldn't have been a game as a service.
It would be a 25-hour and done game.
Yeah. Maybe some replayability in terms of like New Game Plus or something like that, but it would not go into what Sony and ultimately what Jim Ryan wanted.
Yeah.
Of like, it's a games as a service. How is this going to be a platform?
What's your next? Tell me what your next 6 season plans are. And Somnick's, excuse me, what?
Yeah, and they're like Spider-Man Noir, kind of like what Suicide Squad's doing, where it's like Joker, and it's like, okay, but like Joker's going to be free, right? They're like, yeah, Joker's going to be free, and it's like, okay, how are we going to pay for Joker? And they're just like, $70 boxes. that people buy in the store. So I feel like with this, like, I think there's something really interesting with this. I hope these ideas just get used for Spider-Man 3 and we just get that co-op mode that, we've been wanting since they introduced Miles in the first game.
Yeah.
Of this, like, hey, it'd be great is if you could just play co-op
or a
with
multiplayer mode in the game. Like,
that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean even a separate mode like Factions was, or like Uncharted's multiplayer was. Like, it doesn't need to have necessarily long legs, but again, circling back to what we just talked about, you get 6 months of people like interacting with it and buying some emotes and buying some different character skins that they can use in the multiplayer thing. That's more money for the next thing.
Yeah, like the God of War multiplayer thing, or not multiplayer, that the roguelike mode that they put in that, or the roguelike mode in The Last of Us. Like, it would have been interesting just to be like, hey, here's a roguelike mode.
See how long you can swing in the air without hitting the ground or hitting a building. Stupid stuff. Like
Spider-Man race.
Yeah.
Get 4 of your friends and race from one end of New York to the other.
GTA has made a living off this. Like, heists and races, and like GTA, like there was a discussion in our Discord.
GTA evolved.
Right. But nothing really
got popular.
Like GTA, evolved from 3 to 4 to 5, and then obviously to 6.
But even their multiplayer evolved significantly.
But they didn't really. I don't really feel like they added new things. Like they would add like heists.
Whole economies.
Right. But the world didn't change. Like, there wasn't all of a sudden like this massive skyscraper in the city that you did. Like, Division, as an example, drops an entire new building in the game that's a different loading zone, and you go up 100 floors. Like, GTA's map is GTA's map is GTA's map is GTA's map.
Yeah, you can own property in it, but for the most part, it's the same. Yeah, but that's but like what could have worked out for this is if they just pursued it as not a games as a service thing, and ultimately I think that's what killed this specific thing with Spider-Man is just,
and that killed Factions.
Yeah, where it's just like Factions could have probably been as popular as some of the other multiplayer games in the world if it was just a multiplayer game and not a games as a service game.
Yeah,
like, it's not unheard of. Like, it's almost like developers have companies have a blind spot. They forget that, like, Rainbow Six Siege was the biggest game in the world for a little bit, and it wasn't technically a games as a service thing. It was a straight up multiplayer game. They eventually, had season pass and all that stuff, but for the most part,
well, it was a multiplayer game with new operators being added.
Yes,
that wasn't like new seasons. It was just like, okay, here's a new dude or person that does this, and then 4 months down the line, okay, here's another person that does this. Oh, now that we have these two together, that we're seeing, okay, we got to balance this because these two new things are interfering with this. Like,
and then eventually it turned into like, hey, here's like some pretty frequent content updates,
right,
that you can kind of consider a season, or at least eventually they called it seasons, but it necessarily wasn't a season.
But at its core, you're either defending a building or attacking a building. Like,
and that was one of the biggest games in the world for a little bit after it was a dead game.
It was also, I was gonna say, it was also broken as hell at launch.
Yeah, and the idea that like no one, like, there's nothing to say that the Spider-Man game, if it took that approach, could have hit that level. Maybe not the biggest game in the world, but successful enough that people would buy a PlayStation.
People forget that's made by Ubisoft.
Yeah,
like, I forget that. Because of how much of a unicorn it is in their library, like, and that community is
especially for the time.
Yeah, I mean, that community is dedicated and hardcore and playing, and you get
that community got pissed when they were going to release another Rainbow Six game.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see some Rainbow Six Vegas. Like, I want to see some of that, like. I want the PvE Rainbow Six that I saw at one point in time. What was it, Rainbow Six Patriot, like years ago, where it was like
something
like a squad of 4.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And you're versus AI. Yeah, like, I want that. Like, that's what I want. I want Payday, but I want it PvE. Like, I don't know, and different classes and different things and different ways to do stuff. That's what I want. I'm sorry, like, I'm kind of to the point where I don't need to go against a squad of 4 of whether they're 25 or 50-year-old people that are, ex-Navy SEALs that are like doing this to get their jollies off. Like, I have a hard enough time with softball and that of going against some guy that's like 45 years old and he doesn't want to play. He played semi-pro ball and now he just likes to get swings and just destroys you. Like, no thanks. Like,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, but yeah, I you would have played this, right?
Yeah, I would have checked it out.
Yeah.
Owen would have probably been all over it.
Yeah. The idea that you and Owen could have been playing Spider-Man at the same time probably would have been like
that kid is so
that would have been
that kid is so depressed right now, man.
Because there's no Spider-Man.
No, well, he was playing the New Game Plus stuff, but he just lost 200 hours of Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, what happened?
He overwrote a save tonight just while we were recording.
Oh, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, he was upstairs like bawling. I almost asked I was asking Angela if I have to stop recording. Like he was distraught.
Do you have Nintendo Switch Online?
I think.
That game might be one of the ones that back up to the cloud.
Yeah, I'll have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, you might have to check and just hope he doesn't accidentally upload the,
it just happened tonight. So
yeah. So there's a chance Angela could, if she looks on to see the backup save, because Nintendo Switch Online for some games does back up to the cloud.
Yeah.
So you gotta hope.
But I think he overwrote the save.
I know, but you gotta hope it didn't override in the cloud yet. Automatically.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. That's part of if anybody's watching on stream, that's part of why my head's been down a little bit because I've been texting oh, do I have to stop this?
Yeah. Well, we're almost done because we're out of news, Dave.
Right. All right. So playing and watching. Speaking of Owen, so we had to run some errands while we were doing some Pinewood Derby car stuff, and we were getting some. I don't know. We went to a strip mall, and there was this store called Disc Replay. I'm like, all right, let's go in there and check it out.
Hell yeah, that's one of my favorite stores.
Yeah. So I hadn't really been in one, and so in terms of more power to these people that can alphabetize these games and everything like that. So, but
can you take a picture of the PS3 section for me, Dave?
It's 5 minutes from my house, so if you want me to, I can go back there again. You just gotta
just let me know. Just let me know.
Take a picture of the PS3 section. It was
take a
40 feet wide.
Section. Yeah, exactly. Take a picture.
Hey, what are you gonna find in that picture? You can't read all the games.
I'll zoom in. I have time. I have a large screen.
But so obviously, I have a digital PS5, but I have a Series X. And so I was telling Owen, we can go through. He picked up some Dragon Ball Fighter game that I've tried playing with him, and I don't have a clue what's going on. But it reminds me of Marvel vs. Capcom. It's 3v3. The character switching it out. Yeah. He's super interested in in Dragon Ball, and whether it's you or if somebody in the community, I kind of need you to tell me the order that these games could be played in, because there's some games that are on PS Plus, there's some games that are on PS Extra. This is the kind of stuff that would intrigue me enough to upgrade, though, because if I can find one or two games in there that I want to play, and there's something in there that he wants to play, but I don't even know where to start or where it's possible to start.
For the most part, the Dragon Ball games are all standalone except the Kakarot series.
And I think that there's a Kakarot 2, isn't there?
Yes, there's Kakarot 2.
I don't know if I can find Kakarot 1. I don't know if I can find. I mean, obviously I can find it on the PSN store or the Xbox store, but I don't know if I've been able to find it on a disc, because I'll go to this place and get him this game. But can he play these games? As an 8-year-old, can he understand and play, and how much reading is involved? And
I have never finished the Kakarot games. It was one of those games I saw at E3.
What kind of games are they? Are they third-person action adventure?
Open world third person. It's like an action role playing, so there's going to be a lot of text, but for the most part, you get to skip.
Okay.
And then just zoom around the world.
But is there an order, and is there a current gen order? And
Kakarot is the newest ones.
Okay.
So the Kakarot series started in 2020.
Okay.
So Kakarot 1 and 2 are probably where you want to start them with, because
2 is on PS Plus Extra.
Mm-hmm.
Or something.
I would say start there. And I believe you could probably knock it down to the easiest difficulty.
Yeah. Just
to be on the safe side. But if you're looking at the other Dragon Ball Z games that aren't the fighting games, as far as I know, for the most part, they're pretty standalone. But you could probably start him with the Kakarot series, or Kakarot, however you say it.
Is that you or me that's making that noise?
That was that just dinged?
Yeah.
That was my phone.
Okay. I thought, usually you take care of it, and now I'm starting to think it was me. So that's fine.
Okay.
This is going to be a very, very low edited show today. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah, I would say you can start him on those two games. Yeah, I would recommend just starting him on whatever's on a PS4 and the Xbox One. Because I don't think
that's the fighting game that we got was Xbox One, and it works.
Yeah.
It works in the Series X, obviously.
Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Something like
I believe
that,
is the fighting game. Yeah.
All I know is he's naming characters, and and I'm trying to figure out, like, I haven't played fighting games in a long time, and then we're switching characters, and I don't know how to use my alts or something.
I just pick all the Gokus with blue hair, in that. And there's like 3 of them in that game. Like there's like 6 Gokus in that game. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did you find out the creator died this past week?
I don't think that's registered.
That
with
hit him yet? Okay.
That guy that made it to my wife's timeline, and she's like, "This guy is like the creator of anime."
I mean, for some people, yeah, he definitely is. Yeah.
So I've done a little bit of dabbling with Destiny. I played some of that Dragon Ball with him, and then he started, and I was helping him a little bit because he started Spider-Man 2 New Game Plus. So they added 1 new trophy. So I don't have 100% anymore. But
did you get in the debug menu?
No, no,
Okay.
I did not. I'm not going to do that. The other suits they added for like $5 that go towards a cause. I think that's really cool. Owen was really excited about playing it. He wanted to do another playthrough, and I kept telling him just to wait for New Game Plus. That way he didn't have to like restart over with all that stuff. So hopefully he can focus on that now and stop focusing on Tears of the Kingdom. But so we'll see how that goes when he wakes up in the morning or something like that. So
the irony that he's crying over Tears of the Kingdom right now is just...
I think he's asleep. So,
okay.
I think she said he just screamed at his pillow for a little while, and then like we've all had that moment.
Poor dude. Yeah,
whether we did it to ourselves deleted. Or it like a save corrupted or whatever, or so.
I remember being upset one time because I had like when I used to play Madden as a little kid, and I had like a
15-year franchise.
15-year franchise going. And I've had my Kingdom Hearts saves deleted, and that shit sucked.
You turn your console off at the wrong time while it's on a loading screen, and it's like...
Yeah, nothing worse in the PS2 era. You go on to PlayStation and find out like a sibling deleted your save accidentally, and you're just like, okay.
But the cynical, and I know Michael knows this a little bit about me. The cynical father in me is like, this is why I didn't want you to have multiple game saves going. Like, this is why I tell you not to have all these like alternate counts. And he's like, oh, it's on my alt file, Dad. It's like it's on my second play. And I'm like, he's like, I got my main one. And then
you're gonna pay attention one day when you're playing, and then
but yeah, for the most part, that's been it for playing and watching for me. So.
Yeah, so for me, I'm still in that weird, like, trying to get back into playing video games thing, because honestly, there hasn't been anything that's released outside of Helldivers and Suicide Squad, and I just haven't had the motivation to do multiplayer stuff. So, to build on my paranoia that the PlayStation Network for the PS3 will be shut down this year, I am going through PS3 games that I either am missing a Platinum for, or I just never got the Platinum for, period. So right now, like I literally was so bored at work on my lunch, emphasize on my lunch, one day that I just made a list of all the PS3 games that I have. That like I went through my trophy list to be like, okay.
There's Infamous a website for that, right? Like PS3 trophies or whatever.
Yeah, where I can look at the difficulty and how many hours it takes. So I basically was like, oh, I have the platinum for Sly 1, but I don't have the platinum for Sly 2 or Sly 3. Let me get those platinums. Looked at my Infamous 1 save, and I'm like, oh, I never the evil playthrough on Infamous 1. Let me do an evil playthrough on Infamous 1. Infamous 2, the hard trophy bugged out on me, and I just kind of gave up on it, where I did the evil playthrough, did the good playthrough, and then the evil playthrough was on hard, but the trophy didn't unlock for me. And then I gave up on it because I was like, I'm not going to play this game a third time back to back. But now...
12 years later.
12 years later, I'm like, you know what? I'll play it on hard now. So literally, I have a list of games of just like, I kind of want to try and get a platinum a week. I specifically pick games that are under 20 hours.
Okay.
So like, I literally have a list, and I'm going to see how many of these I can platinum, because again, PlayStation will probably announce that the PS3 store will close this year. And I wonder how far they will go in terms of shutting down services. The Insomniac leaks revealed how many active concurrent players there are on PS3, and it's about 1.5 million players that are actively using the PS3, which makes me think that, like, okay, they'll probably shut the PlayStation Store down. 1.5 million users probably means they won't shut down PSN just yet, but I still think that day is coming, and then that means, you won't be able to get those trophies anymore.
We know for sure that PSN is completely on a separate road and path from PS4, PS5. Like, it's on its own path.
Yeah. So the idea that like they're hovering around 1 million people means that there is a magic number of PlayStations just kind of waiting for it to hit for them to kill
and
it.
like of that 1 million people, how many of them are actively engaged online versus just being on? You know, like
how many are just using it as a Blu-ray player that connects to the internet,
right? Or still watching Netflix on it or something, you know?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like I'm hoping that like I don't want them to shut anything down, but they're going to. Wii U shut down, 3DS shut down, the 360 store shutting down, which is the wild one because backwards compatible stuff. So the idea that like PlayStation will shut the PlayStation Store down probably
but won't that
this
360
year.
stuff just be available on the One or on the Series store? Like I think
some of that content will be.
Yeah.
But but the fact that they're still going to shut that store down is just kind of like wild that it's some of that content's still accessible.
While you're saying that, it just dawned on me. I did buy Immortals.
I did see.
Because it was like $8.
Deal.
Yeah, I was like, I saw Wario tweet something about it. And I'm like, what is this? I couldn't. By the way, buying stuff on PlayStation does a better job of letting you buy a game on the app.
Xbox.
I can't tell. It's like download, and I'm like, download what? Do I have it? Do I not have it? Are you going to charge me? Like, where's my price? Like, I was like, ugh. I had to go on my Xbox, go to the store.
Which loads like dog shit sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And I downloaded the game, and I want to play it. I was interested in Immortals last summer, and then the reviews weren't great, and other stuff came out, but for $8, and it was like the deluxe edition too.
That's Microsoft literally like, why are you buying this shit? You should be playing this on Game Pass.
It's not on Game Pass though.
No, I know, but like the way they built their store is to make it all difficult for you to buy the thing. But yeah, like my concern with the PS3 is like PlayStation will probably shut the PlayStation Store down this year, but what's to stop them from just shutting down PSN on the PS3? So I'm like, let me just get these trophies now while I can still sync to the PlayStation servers. So I have a list of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have a list of 15 PS3 games.
And these are all ones you own already?
Yes, all ones that I own, and I either started or they're some games that I picked up over the last like 2-3 years as I've been like recollecting stuff. So I'm just kind of going through that, and some of the games are random, and some of the games will be painful to get the platinums for, but for the most part, if it's not a 30-50 hour game, I'm going to try and get the platinum for it. Just so I can close that book, say I got the trophy, and we'll see how long that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm halfway through Sly 2 because that's a 10-hour game, and those games, I fucking love the Sly games. Like there's something kind of like magical because like now
comfortable,
and just like the things that they're able to do within such confined space in terms of like the resources they had available for like their level design and for them to be as creative as they were during the PS2 era to make things look good and also be fun to play, even though it's really simple. Like that sort of like stuff is just, it's a lost art now because everything is intricate now, yes, but it's at a gigantic scale.
It's the same feeling that I've had about Zelda and Mario. Zelda prior to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom of like, okay, you can tell me the same story over and over, but you put a different spin on it, and I'm having a blast.
Yeah, but like they take advantage of like their extra resources and stuff like that because they have them available. And then when you look at like modern Mario and Zelda games, it's just like, man, you're only scratching the surface of the resources you have available to you.
I enjoyed my own main experience with Sly games, and I'll get the name wrong, but that one that was cross save on Vita and PS3.
Thieves in Time.
Yeah. I enjoyed that, and that was really my only Sly experience. But again, cartoony third-person action adventure game. It's fun, like platformer and figuring out puzzles, and it's the same thing I love about Ratchet. Like it's just like it's comfort. It's easy to watch. I don't have to like worry about like just somebody walking in the room and then like this cutscene of like F-bombs and boobs and everything like that, like which are all fine and they're all part of video games and they're all part of art, but
Dave endorses F-bombs and boobs.
But like Ratchet and Clank is just like and they know who they are, and like and non-gamers know who Sly Cooper is, they know who Mario is, they know who Link is,
and the thing with like Ratchet and Clank is like you have like Insomniac who are like, hey, we're gonna push this hardware to its limit, and I felt like with the Sly Cooper games it was like, don't worry, this is enough resources.
Crack in Time came with my PS3, and I loved that game. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of fun going back to like those simpler games. Like, I'm gonna get into more complex games on my trophy list eventually, but to start off with like a nice, easy Sly Cooper experience just makes me like wish that they would do another Sly Cooper game, but don't go crazy with the Sly Cooper game.
Yeah, because I feel like those style of game has been replaced by Ori, Guacamelee style. Nobody, nobody saves the world. Like they've almost been kind of replaced by like indies. It's like
definitely.
But then to your point, circling back, like Prince of Persia came really close to that Metroid feel.
Yeah,
like, and that's great. Like I almost found myself at that disc replay store. I'm like, how much is that Metroid Dread version? Because I can't find mine. I was like,
exactly. No, and it's something going back to that, and like I'm. Like other games on my list, like I want to go back to X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I have Godfather 2. Wow. Like I'm very fascinated with like some of those games because like those weird licensed games that we had back then.
Yeah,
a lot of them were way better than they had any right to be.
How are you doing with playing a 10-year-old game though? Because like I struggle with some of the things that the new versions.
That's why
of what
I started
I'm used
with
to.
Sly Cooper.
Okay, because like I'm like
timeless.
okay. What do you mean I can't ADS? Like what do you mean I can't?
I'm working my way towards those games because I have like Godfather 2 is a third-person action game that is the shooting's gonna feel like shit. Compared to current times, I have the Saboteur on my list, which is like another third-person shooter that's kind of stealth-like, and stealth games back then kind of sucked.
Like if you play you play Uncharted 4, and then you go and try to play 1, even the remade one,
it's stiff, and it doesn't feel. It's close though, but it's not quite there. So like my list is definitely building up towards that. Like the last game on my list is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
Oh my god!
Because I know that's gonna feel.
I
like
find myself just getting
shit.
Frustrated. Like I just get frustrated, and I'm just like I or whatever. Like I'm just past the point of where like I don't want to regress. Like I can't regress. Like it just gets irritating and it doesn't hold my attention.
The game I'm playing after Sly Cooper 2 is X-Men Origins Wolverine because I'm like, this is the best feeling Wolverine game until the Insomniac one comes out in 2 years, and then I'll never be able to go back to it. So like my list is like building towards that. And this isn't even counting, like, these are all like my disc-based games for the most part. So like I haven't even touched my downloadable games.
And your disc reader's still working fine and everything?
I got a little scared because the disc, I had to like push the disc in.
Okay.
Because the feeder wasn't like taking like the disc completely. So I'm a little worried that this disc is going to be stuck in here and I'm going to have to open up this PS3. But I do have 2 PS3s. I have a fat that I refuse to use because it still works. And then I have a slim that works with the disc. I might have to crack it open and see what's going on.
Is that like the George Foreman style slim?
No, I hate that one. I won't let that one in my house.
It's the top tray loader.
Yeah, no, I won't let the Foreman Grill one ever in my house. Even if someone.
I'm glad you understood that reference. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Instantly understood that reference. I didn't have to explain it or anything.
No. I'm not making paninis or anything with my PS3. No, I still have the second slim, the original slim, not the super slim.
Okay.
But that one again, the disc barely was able to go, but. It's still reading. I think this one has
your slim still has the curves. It's not just the flat,
it's not just like the
flat box
grill. Yeah. But yeah, probably gonna be playing some PS3 stuff until something comes out on the PS5 or the Xbox Series X.
The next thing I'm looking forward to right now for me is just MLB The Show, and that'll hold my attention for, to be honest with you,
weekend,
21 days at most. Like
I'll play it on Xbox because I'll probably get Game Pass for it.
Yep.
Which is crazy to say that I'm like not going to get it on my PlayStation. I'm going to get a month of Game Pass to play MLB The Show,
and then you'll be done with it. Like you'll make
I'll make a character, I'll make a franchise, and probably play a couple games, sim the season to see how my team did, and then be like, I'm done with this.
Yep.
So
it is cool that they're putting women in the game, though.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of cool things that they're like going to do with that game. I just don't think I'm interested in the baseball games anymore, and that might be because my team sucks.
So does mine.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to be playing PS3 stuff, and I did buy my first graded game.
I saw that.
It was really cheap. I wasn't expecting to win it in the auction, but I did. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I don't see myself buying a bunch of graded games unless I get them super dirt cheap, because there's also like some aspect of it that it's pointless as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not gonna be able to play that unless I bust open the case. But then why did I do that? So
right.
That's pretty much it for me.
Okay. All right, we're going to cut the show a little short today. If you guys have questions, send us questions. I know we have a couple that are lingering, but some of them we ended up answering in Facebook anyways.
We'll do all the questions that were asked next week on the show, but Dave might need to go see how Owen's doing after this, so we'll cut a little short.
So, but yeah, you can follow us on social media. I'll try to post a picture of Owen's car if he hasn't broken it yet. So the main account is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's account is at the First MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Facebook group is there. Discord is there. Discord is where we're kind of like pushing everybody to. Like there's a little bit of activity going on in there, just depending on the feeling. Helldivers just added mechs, so a lot of people are kind of having a whole bunch of fun with that. But yeah, just definitely check out the Discord. That's where a lot of the conversation and a lot of the community and a lot of the grouping up is happening. So move off of Facebook. Facebook is still there. We'll still use it. We'll still support it. But if you really want to kind of get into the community and start playing games with some people, whether it's Fortnite or Helldivers, or as I try to get myself, I still need to get myself ingrained into Skull and Bones. Those things are all there, and they're in our Discord. And randomly good conversations happen in there, just depending on the time of day and what's going on in the world. So definitely check that out. And then you can also just check out our Patreon. And with that, sorry for a little bit shorter show, about the same time as normal. But I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.